I want to start this one with something I don't usually do, a warning. This episode's going to make some of you uncomfortable. It's going to ask you to look at your collection, your beautiful, considered, lovingly curated collection, and think about it the way that someone would if they were trying to take it. This isn't a fun mental exercise, but it's a necessary one because I am one of the people in this hobby that has lived through what most people only worry about. And what I learned from that experience and what it cost me is what I want you to think about. I'm going to share what I learned, so maybe, just maybe, it'll cost you less.
Hey, what's I ski? Yeah. What's on your wrist? Eh? Perpetual calendar, three-hander, stainless steel on my skin. I want a daily driver, not a shrine I can't fit in.
Welcome back to What's on Your Restate. I'm Wachowski. You've been with me since episode 3. You know that my home was broken into in 2023. You know what I lost. You know some of those losses were not financial. They were emotional, and that no amount of insurance money would have been able to replace them. What you don't know yet is what I learned. Today, we're going to talk about that. Specifically, we're going to talk about 3 things: how to store your watches at home, if you store them at home, how to think about operational privacy in this hobby, and how insurance actually works for collectors. None of this is glamorous. All of it is the stuff that, if you're going to take this hobby seriously, you eventually have to know. This is the episode I wish someone had recorded for me before 2023. So, segment 1: why this episode is hard. Before we get into the actual advice, I want to say something about framing. Watch enthusiasts, as a community, love talking about our watches. We post them, we share them, we do wrist shots, we make videos, we compare boxes, we attend meets, we tell the story behind every piece. That's the joy part of this hobby. That's the reason we have a community at all. And what I'm going to say in this episode is going to feel in places like it's in tension with that. There's going to be moments where I am sharing things about my stories and my watches, and you're going to go, dude, you just told me not to do some of this stuff. So again, there's going to be this tension with what I'm talking about, because when you start thinking about security, you start thinking about information. What you start thinking about is who knows what about your collection. And you start thinking about who is on the other end of that screen and what they might be deciding. And that is your place worth a visit? I want to be clear, I'm not saying don't share your watches. I'm not telling you to hide. The community is too good and too important for that. I'm sharing my own watches at times with you on this podcast, literally like every week. What I'm saying is that there's a difference between enthusiasm and advertising. And the line between those two is what we're going to talk about today. So let's start with where you keep them. Segment 2 is going to be called storage, really the number 1 principle. There is one principle I want you to take from this entire episode. It's going to be this: if you forget anything else, please remember, and this is going to be hard to digest, and some of you are going to just please just listen to me and hear me out before you just skip to the next episode. Never have your entire collection in one place at one time. I'm going to say that again. Never have your entire collection in one place at one time. And that especially means your entire collection when you're not home. I know. That goes against everything that's fun about owning a collection. The dream is the wall display. The dream is the watch room. The dream is opening one cabinet and seeing them all lined up, every reference, every history, every dial. I get it. I had that dream. You have the watch box, you open it up. Maybe it's a case or a travel case or whatever, right? The problem is that exact dream is also the dream of the person who's planning to take it from you. Let me walk you through what actually happens in a residential break-in, because most people have kind of this movie version of this in their head, and the movie version is very wrong. Residential break-in, the people doing it, they're in your house from somewhere between 8 and 12 minutes. That's it. Sometimes they're not professional safe hackers. They're not doing recon. They're doing the most predictable, fast version of what they came to do. And then they're leaving. They The route that they take almost every single time as they go, typically they'll break in from the back of your home if they know you have cameras and that kind of stuff. In my home, they did a little bit more homework, and I'll talk about that. And then they're going to go straight to your master bedroom. They're going to go into all of your closets. They're going to turn over all of your drawers. They're going to rip apart all of your nightstands. They're going to check in the obvious hiding places under the mattress, behind clothes that are hanging, inside shoe boxes that are on high shelves, on top of dressers and surfaces. That's it. That's the route. They've done this 100 times. It's kind of muscle memory for them. So if you're hiding watches anywhere in that route, they're gone. Period. There's no special hiding spot in the master bedroom that they haven't seen. If there's a drawer with a false bottom, they've seen it. There's a sock hiding it. You've got this watch hiding in a sock in there. They've seen it. The clever compartment that's behind the bookshelf, they've seen that, right? Now, the next layer is interesting as well. Just remember that when you're going through this, some folks are going to be more professional. My home was broken into. They cut cameras, they cut power. There was one camera that they missed, which was a nanny cam. And as they were crawling through the home to make sure that they could avoid cameras and alarm systems for as long as possible, we saw looped zip ties in their back pockets. So these guys were ready to party. They knew I had children, and they were ready to zip tie my wife, myself, my kids, and take whatever they wanted. So just be aware that these are the people that you're going to be dealing with. If you have your collection in a single watch box, again, beautiful, considered, all of your pieces that are lovingly arranged and organized, congratulations. You just gift wrapped it for them. They'll pick up the box and they'll walk out with the box. They will deal with sorting all of that stuff later. They don't care about boxes and papers. If you have a safe, and this is critical, if your safe is not bolted down to the structure of your home and not several hundred pounds, they will take the safe and they'll open it later somewhere quiet with tools on their schedule. The safe didn't protect anything. The safe just made the packaging easier to carry. Now, here's the version of this that almost nobody talks about, but I'm going to talk about it because I think you need to hear it. And I know it's going to polarize some folks, and that's okay. We're allowed to disagree on some stuff. If you have a huge collection and a huge safe and it's bolted down and it's secured and you're so confident that everyone in your life knows that you have this safe, then if you have a break-in, your home turns into a home invasion. Meaning that the people don't just want your stuff, they want you. They want you at gunpoint with your family. And you will open that safe because, of course, you would. Anybody would. The safe doesn't help you in that scenario. The safe makes you, in this entire scenario, more likely because it's telling people that are coming that you have something worth taking. And I'm not trying to scare you. I'm not trying to intimidate anyone. I'm just trying to tell you what I've learned from my experience. And what people who do residential security for a living will tell you the exact same way. The only, and I mean the only durable answer to all of this is the principle that I started with. If you spread out your collection, you do not have it all in one place, you do not have it all known to all of the same people, you do not have it reachable in the standard burglary route, and you do not have it visible enough that someone has reason to come and take it from you specifically. Yes, that sucks. It sucks for me to have most of my collection not even in my home. It sucks. But having to go to a safety deposit box or other locations to go and access some of those watches, it's part of the game at this point for me. I cannot have and I can't risk having an entire collection in one location anymore. I just can't. So unfortunately for me, that means that I only have one or two watches in my home at a time. It sucks. Yes, it sucks. It means that you don't get to look at them all at once. For me, it means that I don't get to open up a box and see all of my watches all at once. It means that it takes so much more effort to access certain pieces, and it means that you have to actually think about logistics. Now, again, a lot of folks are going to disagree with this and go, dude, my watch box is not even worth a couple $100, man. You're way overthinking this stuff, right? And we'll get into some of that stuff as well in a little bit. But it means that, again, for me, that dream of displaying them all in any meaningful collection is a dream that I don't get to indulge anymore. But based on my experience, and again, I've lived this is the price of admission if you actually want to keep your watches and you have mid-range to high-end stuff. You will not be home when this happens, hopefully. But your watches will be. And the only thing that stands between you and your collection and someone who's deciding that they want to take it away from you is how you've set it up the day before. Segment 3, we're going to call the flex problem. Now we get into the part of the episode that's going to make some people in our community uncomfortable, as if that wasn't uncomfortable enough. If you post pictures of your watches online, and especially if you do it consistently with a real face and a real name and a real city tag, in a real lifestyle context, you're a target, period. You are a target. If you have your location settings turned on in your images, meaning that you save your pictures and then you go into and you search and you go, "Oh, let's go find the pictures that we had in San Diego," and you can find them based on the location, your location settings are turned on. That means that in some websites, when you post images, all of that data on the back end of that image is able to be searched and located. Now, also, just based on what's in the background, someone can actually determine what, again, we have enough software now to be able to determine what city you're in. Kind of a bummer, right? So, again, you're on a list. You are a target. Now, you may not be a high priority target. Maybe you're a low priority target, but you're a target. You're on that list, and that list is going to get worked. And that working is going to be in order of attractiveness by the people who are working them. So let me explain the math from the other side. For someone who's going to be stealing watches for a living, and yeah, that is a profession, it doesn't mean that they're going to be breaking into random houses and hoping to find watches. That's very inefficient. They're going to go to social media. They're going to search hashtags. They're going to search location tags. They're going to search by cities. They're going to look for meetups. They may not be actually going to the meetup. They may just be sitting outside the meetup and just watching who comes in and out and then checking license plates and all that kind of stuff, right? They're going to be seeing who's coming in, taking pictures of folks. They're going to be doing homework that way. Again, they're searching by city, by neighborhood, by enthusiast groups, again, by the events. And they're going to find people who are visible in this hobby. They're going to build a profile on them. They're going to find out who has the most accessible, the most valuable, the most worthwhile collection. And then they're going to go after their highest yielding targets first. If you've ever posted a wrist shot at a recognizable bar in your city and you say, man, Friday night, every night, Friday night, we go to this, they might be just coming for that one watch, right? They know what city you're in. If you ever tagged a watch at an event that you've attended, they know that you were there and they know probably that you have other people at that event. So they're going to start to do homework on these other folks as well. If you've ever shown your collection in a video, even briefly, even in the background, they have a partial inventory. If your social profile shows your face, your job, your general life, they can find your home address within a couple of hours of searching. This is not Hollywood. This is just kind of the world that we live in now. And here's the thing that you should really kind of disturb you. There's a particular kind of person in this hobby, and I think we all know who they are, who in addition to their real collection has a drawer of replicas, fakes, super clones, or homages with, somebody else's logo on them. And they wear them, they post them, and they do the whole flex thing. If that's you, I want you to think about something. Or if you know people like this, be aware. Even if those watches are fakes, the photos are real. The thieves do not know that they're fake. They see Daytona, Submariner, Royal Oak, and to them, now you are a high priority target on this list. You may be a guy with just a couple $100 replica box pretending to be a collector, but to the person watching, you're the guy with a $100,000 collection and you're bragging about it. Posting fake watches online in security terms is more dangerous than posting real ones, I would argue, because you're getting all of the targeted downside and none of the actual collateral. You don't even have the watches to lose. You just have yourself or your family to lose. And whether the watches are real or fake, the principle is the same. The more visible you make your collection, the more attractive a target you become. And in this hobby, attention's currency. But it has a hidden cost, and that cost is your security. So what do? You don't have to disappear. You don't have to go silent. But you do have to think about what you post and how. And here's a quick checklist for that. So segment 4, we're going to talk about is going to be the 10, or I would say my 10 rules for living with a collection. So here are the 10 rules. Some of them are about storage. Some of them are about online behavior. Some are about insurance. All of them are things that I wish I had done or at least considered before 2023. So write these down or at least kind of bookmark or note this section and you can come back. 1, spread out the collection. We've already covered this, never in one place, never all visible, never reachable, all in the same 5-minute route in your home. If you're going to keep them in your home, again, I don't, but you might, non-obvious locations. 2, skip the obvious safe place. Master bedroom is the first place they're going to stop on your burglary route. So closet, nightstand, dresser drawers, all checked. They're all going to check all that stuff. Don't put a watch in there, not even as a decoy. Make the burglars do work. Make them run out of 15 minutes, right? Make sure you have your home with an alarm that's monitored. 3, if you use a safe, treat it as one of the many layers, not just the answer. A safe by itself is not security. A safe that's bolted down to the structure in a place that's not on your standard route, maybe, that nobody outside of your immediate household knows about, that's one layer among several. 4, be careful with your location data. Don't tag your wrist shots at home. Don't tag your favorite local spots so consistently that someone could map out your entire neighborhood and know when you're home or not home. Turn off your automatic location data on your photos before posting. Look at your social presence the way that someone is trying to find you might look at it. 5, don't post your collection shots. Single watch, wrist shots, sure. Whole collection box, every piece visible. That's an entire inventory that you just emailed to somebody that was waiting for that. 6, don't tell strangers what you have. This is going to hurt, okay? At watch events with people you don't know, be friendly, be enthusiastic, be a good citizen of the hobby, but don't tell someone you just met what's in your home collection. And again, this is going to sound paranoid. It is not paranoid. It's just operational privacy. People who care about you don't need to be told that. People who don't, they're going to want to know everything they can about you. 7, if you're that guy with replicas, quietly stop. Stop posting fakes. Again, this is more dangerous than posting reels. Just stop. Take down the photos. The flex is not worth what it actually costs. And then there's a whole other layer of complicated stuff that we can talk about in regard to the replica world, but we're not going to get into it here. But just know that it is a dangerous, dangerous game you're playing. 8, know what's in your collection. Document it today. We're going to come back to this kind of in the next segment, which I'm going to be calling the inventory, but just know that it's important enough for not only this moment, but basically for all of the future moments that you're going to have. Every brand, every model, every serial number, every reference, every approximate value, photograph your watch front and back. It should be in a list. Today, not someday. 9, get insurance, real insurance, not your homeowner's policy. Trust me, it does not cover your watches. We're going to go into this a little bit deeper in another segment as well, but your homeowner's policy will not cover what you think it covers. Even if you have the best insurance possible, trust me, if you don't have a separate rider or you don't have separate insurance for specific pieces, it's not going to cover what you think it's going to cover. 10, if something happens, accept the material things are replaceable and people are not. This is the most important rule out of all of them, and the one I want you to carry away from this episode, if you take away nothing else. If you ever come home to a break-in, your job is to not be there. If you're there during one, your job is to be cooperative and uneventful. Get your family safely through it. No watch is worth this confrontation. No collection is worth a person. Pieces are replaceable. You and your family are not. Always, always, always choose your safety over the other objects. Now, I say that as someone who does very much care about my family's safety. Segment 5, the inventory. Let me spend a minute here going back to Rule 8 because I think a lot of people might skip that and then kind of deeply regret it, okay? Now, first, a sincere note to those of you with small collections. If you have 3, 5, 8 watches and you keep it tight and you wear what you own, congratulations. Genuinely, that is a kind of discipline I personally struggle with. And the people who do it well are people that I quietly envy. And now I'm publicly envying you. For you, this exercise will be very easy, maybe 20 minutes of work and you're done. For the rest of us, some of you folks out there with 15, 20, 40, 80 watches or more, this exercise is going to be hard. It will be painful. And it's also going to become even more important. So here's the homework. You're going to make a list, a real one, either in a spreadsheet or in one of the watch-specific tracking apps for your watches that exist now. There's a bunch of them that are good. And you list every single watch you own. Brand, model, reference number, serial number, approximate value today, approximate insured value, date of purchase, source of purchase. Service history, if you've got it, box papers, photos, front and back, the sides, the serial number obviously visible. Now, some watches, they hide the serial number behind, so that's going to be more difficult, but you take a picture of the card with the serial number on it. And I know, this is a project, a genuine project for someone with a monster collection. I get it. There's 3 reasons that you're going to do this. 1, when you sell, if you ever sell, eventually, if you do sell, buyers will ask for this documentation. Now you're going to have it hopefully quickly to be able to close a deal faster, hopefully with better prices, hopefully with less back and forth, and list this whole list is going to help you kind of the first time you really list a watch, okay? 2, if anything happens, God forbid anything happens, but if it does, and I'm speaking here from experience, when my home was broken into in 2023, The difference between the watches I could prove I had owned and the watches I had to scramble to substantiate some paperwork was huge. Insurance companies, they need documentation. Police reports need documentation. Recovery, if it ever happens, depends on documentation. So make the list now before you need it, and because once you need it, it's already too late. 3. This is kind of a fun reason. Once you have the list, you can actually use it. You can drop it into an AI tool, for example. You can tell it about your week. You can have it go on, you can tell it what's going to be happening, and then all of a sudden you can have it feel free to give you a rotation selection. And sometimes I've done this as well. Now again, I get the idea of AI monitoring us and all that kind of stuff. So you can do this in more generalized terms, but you can say like my specific diver 1, diver 2, whatever. But you can throw these kinds of things into software and it can give you a rotation. So as you're going to your vaults or you're going to offsite storage or whatever it is, when you're bringing watches back to your home or whatever it is, you can have something that's going to be giving you some suggestions for rotations. And I do this, and sometimes it can be delightful. Sometimes it's frustrating. It surfaces watches, though, in your collection that you forget sometimes that you owned. My collection used to be monstrous, and now it's kind of slowly pared back, and it continues to kind of whittle away. But it catches things that you might have been wearing. Maybe you're wearing the same piece for like 2 or 3 months, and that reminds you of these other 8 others that you've been ignoring, and it treats your collection more as like a living thing. And that's kind of a fun bonus. I think there's this life after all of this stuff as well. So the homework for you is to make the list. Even if you only get through a quarter of it this week, please try. Segment 6 is insurance. And this is going to be dry. I'm sorry, but I'll do my best. The last kind of big topic that we've got is insurance. Now, most watch collectors believe that their homeowners or renters insurance is going to cover their watches. It does not. Not really. The typical homeowner's policy, it'll cover theft of personal property up to a very limited sublimit amount, meaning sublimits for jewelry. And they're going to put jewelry as an entire category. So somewhere between $1,500 to $2,500 for an entire jewelry collection. Some of them might even go up to $5,000 for jewelry or $10,000, but that's everything. That's all of your jewelry, right? In our scenario, my wife's all of her jewelry, all of her watches, all of her purses, all of her bags, watches, rings, anything that's considered jewelry is combined in that amount. So your watch collection, if your wife's ring gets stolen, for example, or a necklace, it's over. Your budget for your insurance is blown out. If your collection, again, is worth more than that, and if you're listening to this podcast, it probably is, you need additional insurance and you need additional coverage. Either a scheduled rider that's on your existing homeowner's policy, or you list each watch as a separately insured item with a documented value, or a standalone collector's insurance policy from like a specialty insurer. The standalone policies tend to be better. They cover broader scenarios, not just theft, but loss, accidental damage, and in some mechanical issues, they will cover like travel coverage when your watches are moving internationally. They don't raise your homeowner's premium when you file a claim, and they're set up by people who actually understand watches. Now, the going rate for a collection for watch insurance is roughly 1 to 2% of your insured value per year. And that can get you can see how quickly this can add up in regard to cost and price. So a watch worth $10,000, for example, will cost you somewhere between $100 and $200 a year to insure. A $50,000 collection costs somewhere between $500 and $1,000 a year to insure. That number sounds like a lot until you think about not having it. And then it sounds like nothing. You're going to need an appraisal. You're going to need documented valuation of each watch by a specific and qualified appraiser. The watch is of a certain value. The insurance companies will have specific appraisers they like. I would encourage you to use them. Update your appraisals every 2 to 3 years. And when your watches move, you need to update that insurance information. Again, we talked about sometimes me not caring about valuations of watches going up or down, but if a watch has come down, depreciated a lot, I want my insurance company to know. Not that I want to covered for less insurance money, but I want to pay less on the insurance side if the watch is worth less. I also want it to go up if my watch has gone up in value. Why? Because I need to be able to replace that watch if it is stolen. Okay. You don't want an underpaid claim. Now, again, we've talked about this. So the goal here is just to stay current. And I'm not going to recommend a specific carrier on this episode. I'm not going to plug insurance companies because the insurance landscape changes so frequently. And I don't know when you're going to be listening to this. I'm hoping that this podcast, the way that it's designed and written and delivered, is sort of timeless in a way that the themes and the models and the ideas last on. They're not current events, for example. But if you Google collector watch insurance or jewelry insurance or fine articles insurance, you'll find the major players. Talk to 2 or 3 of them, compare, pick the one that you're the most comfortable with. And then, and this is the part that most people skip, actually file the documentation properly: photos, serial numbers, appraisals, receipts, all in one place. The insurance is only as good as your records and your ability to back all that stuff up. All right, bringing it together, segment number 7. I want to land this episode kind of the same way that I started it. This is not a fun episode. This is not a rabbit hole episode. This isn't one of those ones where you grow up and you're like, oh man, I was so excited to listen to that episode. It's like, this is the one that you have to kind of survive. This is the grown up episode. This is you and me sitting down and having a real friend conversation, the ugly conversation that real friends have, right? And I know going into this that some of you are going to tune out. The fact that you're still listening to this means that we are on the same page. Some of you, again, have probably already tuned out, and that's okay. I'll see you in the next episode. But for those of you that are still here, I want you to know that everything I shared today, I shared because I had to learn it the hard way. The break-in in 2023 changed how I think about everything in this hobby. Not whether I love it. I love it, and I love this hobby more than I can ever tell you. But how I practice it, how I store, how I share, and unfortunately, even what watches I pick up anymore. I don't pick up hype watches. I don't pick up watches that are typically easy to flip anymore. That's not my world anymore. Yeah, did it change the way that I collect? Absolutely. Should it have? No, but it did. My collection, if somebody were to pick it up now, it's going to be a lot harder to move. Watches with single digit serial numbers, a little bit more difficult to move around, and especially from the indies and stuff. They're not as hypey. They're not considered a commodity. And so again, how I talk about my pieces, how I move through the world as someone who owns watches. And this hobby is bigger than just the watches. I think it's really about the people that are in it and the conversations and the community and these stories. Those are not stealable. Those aren't insurable, but they're also not at risk. Those parts of the hobby are yours forever, and they're mine forever, no matter what. The pieces, you're going to hate me saying this, those are loaners. You wear them, you enjoy them, you might even pass them on. Guess what? You're going to pass them on whether you sell them or someone takes them from you, or you die and someone gets them anyways. So just remember, those watches, they're loaners. As I said, sometimes you pass them on by giving them to your kids, and sometimes, just sometimes, they get taken from you and the universe rearranges in a way that you didn't plan for. So make the list, get the insurance, spread the collection, be smart about what you post, and remember, the only thing in this hobby that's genuinely irreplaceable is you. Everything else can get rebuilt. Segment 8, what's next? All right, so I'm going to tease episode 8 because I needed to change up some stuff. I needed to get episode 7 out. I could not sleep at night knowing that I couldn't. As much as I want to make this a fun podcast, I needed to get that episode in the first 10 or else I was going to have an issue because I feel like I'm doing you a disservice. Now, based on a lot of audience feedback, which is insane that I actually have listeners and feedback already, but over the last few episodes, we're going to be mixing in some deeper dives into single brands. And I'm still kind of working on what it's going to be called, but for right now, we're going to be calling it Watch Stories. And it's going to be a less broad survey and a really more focused exploration of one brand at a time, their history, their models, the way they iterate, what makes them different, and why they matter. So, based on some suggestions from listeners already, the first one I want to do, and this is one of my favorite brands in the entire industry, is Chapek. Now, you're going to hear Chapek, Czapek, and you're going to hear it pronounced Chapek, and you're going to hear Chopek. The proper pronunciation is chop, like is in CHAP, and then a dash, and then ECK, Chapek. We're going to be talking about the brand's history, this spectacular feud with Patek that almost nobody knows about, and that's coming. We're going to talk about the modern revival in 2015 and how this small team in Geneva resurrected a name that had been dormant for over 100 years. We're going to walk through the current collection. We're going to talk about their limited editions and some brand collaborations. We're going to include this Oster Antarctique, that's Oster, the jeweler, this gorgeous Lanakai pieces that they did with a collective horology named after a Hawaiian beach. And this is the part that I'm most excited about. We're going to talk about something my 6-year-old did. We had a wild idea for a Chopek diver. A dual crown design with internal rotating bezel. We mocked it up on paper. We took a photo. We did a digital rendering of it, and we actually emailed the Chopek as a joke, basically. And they wrote back and they engaged with us. And they actually had a conversation about a 6-year-old's design idea. And that right there, that little moment, that human response is the difference between an independent brand and a conglomerate. And we're going to spend a whole episode on why Chopek is one of the best examples of why that difference matters. So that's coming up next. So that's episode 7 of What's on Your Restay. And I hope that this episode helped you think about something that you hadn't considered. And even one thing, that's going to be enough, I think. So make the list, talk to an insurance broker, look at where your collection lives. And the work to do this week before you need it is kind of the difference between a future you're happy with and a future that you're at least at a minimum prepared for. Now, if you've been through what I've been through, find me, we can talk. There are more of us in this hobby than people realize, and most of us don't talk about it, and maybe we should. So I'm Wachowski. Take care of yourselves, take care of your family, and wear something good. I'll see you in episode 8.
Hey, Wachowski. Yeah. What's on your wrist? Perpetual calendar, three-hander, stainless steel on my skin. I want a daily driver, not a shrine I can't fit in. Casio on Monday mornings, Zella's got me saying stop. Topper Friday in the group chat, and my budget just got dropped. I can't afford that, still I stare at it. 80 can suck it. I'm in love with a habit. Lauren's group chat gonna make me broke. One more strap swap, and I swear it's all a joke. What's on your wristy? What's on your wristy? Daily driver, baby. What's on your wristy? What's on your wristy? I just can't resist. Watch out, watch out. Popped out crown on the wrist. Third swap of the day, yeah, I know. Brown on leather, steel on steel, then I change it for the show. Got it on my wish list, but I'm not acting rich. Reddit bros gonna fry us if I call this one a grail and switch. I can't afford that, still I stare at it. 80 can suck it, I didn't mean that. I'm in love with a habit. Shout back in the comments, got me losing sleep, but I laugh it off cause we don't take it too deep. What's on your wristy? What's on your wristy? Daily driver, baby. What's on your wristy? What's on your wristy? I just can't resist. What's up? On the crap wrist. Perpetual calendar, three-hander and a dream. Stainless steel, a scratch or two. Still the king of the scene. Zella's new drop. Stop. I click and then I flinch. Then I post, just browsing, and I buy it in a pinch. What's on your wristy? What's on your wristy? Daily driver, baby. What's on your wristy? What's on your wristy? I just can't resist. Watch out. On the crap parade. What's on your wrist? What's on your wrist? What's on your wrist? What's on your wrist? Lauren's group chat gonna make me broke again. What's on your wrist? Hey, what's on your wrist? What's up, ski? Let's go. We don't take ourselves too seriously.